or having a chunk of the chromosome break off and transfer to another one, or be deleted, and that was the whole, you could delete a section of DNA, you could invert it, you could transfer it or translocate it to a different place, you could duplicate it. We've already talked about this quite often, but it's in here in the notes, so we'll go over it again. Down syndrome is called trisomy 21. And this is where you get 3 copies of the 21st chromosome rather than 2. And it's not that uncommon. About 1 out of every 830 children have it. Whoa, what happened? Where did you go? Come back here. That's not what I wanted. It's the wrong page. Okay. The frequency, as I said yesterday, the frequency of Down syndrome goes up as the mother's age increases. And that has been hypothesized to be because of the fact that the DNA is older. It was made prior to the mother being born. So it's more subject to breakage. Here's a child with Down syndrome. If you look at their karyotype, you can see down here in really small letters, it says chromosome 21. You can kind of see that there's 3 little chromosomes there rather than the 2 that you would normally have. Sometimes they will ask you questions on a test where they say, look at this karyotype and what's wrong with it, or what is the biological sex of the individual of this particular karyotype. And so you might have a question like that where they ask you that kind of thing. So that's the autosomes. Remember, we have 22 pairs of autosomes, meaning that these are chromosomes, the genes on them code for everything outside of influencing biological sex. And then we have 1 set of sex chromosomes being X or X and Y. You can have, so we talked about how that non-disjunction, the chromosomes don't separate correctly, and how that can be catastrophic for human beings in general. That's for autosomes. For sex chromosomes, we're more resilient to that, meaning that there are more conditions that occur where there's non-disjunction when it comes to sex chromosomes. And so there's a few of them that they've listed here. One of them is called Klinefelter's. Klinefelter's is where you have an extra X. You're a biological male, but you do have some physical features that are a little bit different than an XY male. About 1 in 1,000 males have something called XYY, where they have an extra Y. And we haven't found any problems with the extra Y. Back when they first discovered this XYY, they started looking at people's genetic makeup, and they started looking at their sex chromosomes, and they found that there were a lot of men in jail that had XYY. And at the time, they thought, well, maybe they're in jail because they've committed violent crimes, right? They got an extra Y, so maybe they produce extra testosterone, and so this kind of wild theory that was running around, or hypothesis that was running around. And it turned out that those particular individuals who had XYY were in jail for nonviolent crimes. And in fact, they were often not the brightest crimes in the world. Things like leaving your wallet with your driver's license and your home address at the scene of a burglary. Things like that. Or there was one where a couple of guys decided to rob a convenience store after it was closed, and it was Halloween, and so they took a whole bunch of bags of Halloween candy, and they ate the candy, and as they were eating the candy, they would discard the wrappers, and they were on foot, right? And so they left a trail of wrappers going back to their apartment. Like, yeah, it's kind of easy to find. So it's kind of a wholesome crime, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they also, took money and whatever, but it was their Candy Jones that got them in trouble. But that has not been proven. Having an extra Y does not lead you to have lowered intelligence or common sense, what have you.
Wait, having that extra sex chromosome doesn't do anything?
Usually not. So, like in Klinefelter's, it doesn't do much. There's some change in the overall physical appearance, but not that anyone would know. XXX is a female, biological female. It occurs about 1 in 1,000. They're usually healthy with no physical features. They are sometimes at risk for learning disabilities. And I think occasionally, oh, wait, no, never mind. But not, again, somebody could have XXX and go there probably their entire life and not know that they're XXX. As well as the other two that we're talking about. Monosomy X means that you are X and O. XO meaning you only have one sex chromosome. You don't have a second one. There's not a second X or there's not a second Y. These are individuals who biologically develop as females. They are sterile, so they can't have kids. That's kind of the downside for that one. But that's the only known viable monosomy in adults, meaning that one less chromosome. So it's the only case where people survive with 45 chromosomes. There are other disorders that are caused by the chromosomes being altered, where there's a specific segment of genes that are missing. There's something called cry du chat, which literally means cry of the cat, and it's a specific deletion from the 5th chromosome. The child's born with really, really intellectually impaired, as well as a cat-like cry. Sounds pretty awful. Women, yeah. Individuals usually die in infancy or early childhood. They don't live very long. So it's a pretty nasty one. Some cancers also cause translocations where sections of one chromosome has gone to a different chromosome. Okay, some inheritance patterns are exceptions to the standard Mendelian genetics. One of those is one exception are genes located in the nucleus, and the other one are those outside of the nucleus. In both cases, the sex of the parent makes a difference on whether or not that is inherited. For a few mammalian traits, the phenotype depends on which parent passes it along. Such variation is called genomic imprinting. Excuse me. Try this. And this involves the silencing of a gene depending on whether or not a male or a female parent passes it on. Example of that here, where we have dwarf-sized mice. And that has to do with whether or not the parent that passes it down is, I think, if it's inherited, if the inheritance is from the mom for the allele, then they're okay. And if they inherit it from the father, they will be they'll be little, they'll be smaller mice. Aw. I mean, mice are pretty small anyway. So I was having lunch in here the other day, and it was really quiet in here. And I could hear something was skittering across the tiles. So they're up here. Charlie's up here. By Charlie, I meant mice. I name every animal in this building Charlie. Remember how we talked about you could turn on or turn off genes by methylating them? Remember that? It seems that the imprinting is a result of methylation. You add on methyl groups to the cysteine nucleotides. And when you do that, you turn them off. Genomic imprinting only works on a very small amount of genes in the mammalian world. So that's one thing with different from what Mendel would say. And here's another one. And this is kind of fun. So There are genes that are present in your organelles. And so they're not in the nucleus. They're not. They are located on chromosomes, but they're not found in the nucleus. They're found in organelles like the mitochondria, as well as chloroplasts here. Extranuclear genes are inherited maternally because the zygote's cytoplasm comes from the egg. In other words, the organelles are not donated from the father. So sperm doesn't give. The only thing that's donated by the sperm is the DNA. Okay, there's no cytoplasm that's going with it. So there's no mitochondria. There's no ribosomes. There's nothing else. It's just the DNA. The DNA. And so you can actually track these genes through the lineage of the mom. Some defects in mitochondrial genes prevent cells from making enough ATP, and they can lead to diseases that affect the musculature as well as the nervous system. There's something called mitochondrial myopathy and Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, and those are both diseases that you find because of genes in the mitochondria, not in the nucleus. And so they're always going to then therefore be inherited from the mother's side, not from the father's side. And it's possible to avoid some of those diseases from being passed on because we just had this happen recently. You can take the chromosomes from the egg of an affected mother, and they can be transferred to the to the egg of a healthy donor egg from another mother, or from another woman, I should say, and you create, quote, a two-mom egg. Okay? So you take a donor egg, but you take out their nucleus, right? So their nuclear DNA is taken out. And then you take mom's DNA, her nuclear DNA, and you transplant it into the donor egg. And so then you have an egg that has the DNA from one woman in the nucleus and the DNA from another woman in the mitochondria. And then the egg gets fertilized. So in essence, you have three parents. And it has happened. It has happened. Yeah. Happened in 2019. No, it doesn't change the number of genes you have.
Wait, so it doesn't matter what you care.
Say that again?
How is so they take the egg out?
Yeah.
But then how does did the egg go back?
I'm not sure if they do an implantation with the egg. They transplant it back in. I think they do, yeah.
So I was kind of confused, where
yeah.
Okay, so it just goes back.
Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're interested, there's a couple of links in here to talk about it. Two moms and a dad. There's three-person baby.
Oh my God.
Happened in Athens, Greece. Oh. I don't know what those look like mushrooms, don't they? What is that picture? I think this. Oh no! Wait, it's.
Oh no! Oh.
This is something that has nothing to do with. I think it's an ad for something else. Daily news, silly daily news. Oh, that was kind of annoying. Let's see what the other one says. All right, come on. Nova. So I think Nova gives a more sciencey background if you're interested in that. It's PBS. Talks about it.
Bang, bang.
It's not your mom's genes. Get it?
Dang, you are.
Oh, that's interesting. It says mitochondrial DNA can come from dad as well. Not quite sure how you're going to do that though, because you can't put it into a sperm and have a sperm fertilize a sperm.
This is a crazy
Anyway, that's it.